Karim Adeyemi's move to Barcelona is reportedly worth around 22 million euros, plus a further 7 million in potential add-ons, with the German forward set to sign a 5-year deal at Campen. And it's a transfer that says a lot about what Barcelona feels their attack has been missing. For years, Adeyemi has been filed under a single label, blistering pace and not muscles. But the moment you actually sit with his individual sequence, that reputation starts to look incomplete. And there is no better place to see that than a transition sequence where his best decision is the one where he doesn't run. Dortmund break into Sporting's half, and Adeyemi find himself isolated against a single defender, with enough grass in front of him to simply attack using his acceleration, which is exactly the decision most transition players in his position would make instantly. Adeyemi doesn't. Instead, he carries at a controlled tempo, keeping the defender fixed directly in front of him while his eyes stays on the picture developing around him, rather than the space in front of his own feet. By refusing to explode immediately, he keeps the defender trapped in an impossible in-between, unable to dive into the tackle because the acceleration trait never goes away, but also unable to retreat either without simply handing over ground. Their hesitation is entirely manufactured by Adeyemi, and it's what buys the time for Dortmund overlapping the runner to arrive from the outside on a clean, synchronized lane instead of into a rushed or a premature pass. A second defender is forced to shift across to the bar, but that shift is only happening because Adeyemi chose to sit on the ball rather than to commit early, which means the 1-versus-1 has quietly become a numerical problem for the defense without a single explosive moment yet taking place. Only once both the cover defender and his own support have reached their optimal position does he release the pass. And what makes this sequence so telling is what happens after the ball leaves his feet. Because the moment position moves wide, he flips instantly from a patient game changer into the sprinter everyone recognizes, attacking the space inside the box and arriving ahead of his marker exactly as the cutback arrives. The speed hasn't been switched off during the build-up. It has been saved. Deployed only once, the reward is at its highest, which is a mark of a player treating his own gift as a weapon to be timed rather than a habit to be repeated. A separate sequence shows the technical side of the same patience, because as he receives position, here he again refuses to explode forward on his first instinct. Instead, drawing the nearest defender into engaging him, the defender says to commit, and Adeyemi answers by shifting his weight through his shoulder and hip, shielding the ball while still carrying it forward, so that when the defender finally plants and lunges, Adeyemi has already dropped the shoulder and rolls the ball across his own body and away from the challenge. It's a kind of low center of gravity escape that depends less on outrunning the tackle and more on absorbing it and redirecting through it. And what's easy to miss watching at full speed is that he never squares his upper body to the pressure, staying silent throughout that even the contact that does land is hitting a moving target at an angle rather than a stationary one. What happens immediately after beating the first man is where the sequence becomes tactically rich, because the opponents around him are not a settled backline. They are players recovering out of an attacking shape after losing the ball in transition, scrambling to get the bodies goal aside rather than executing a coordinated squeeze. The nearest defender intentionally shows him outside, leading him towards the touchline where the line itself becomes an extra defender. And if Adeyemi does what most wide players do on instinct, like put his head down and sprint for the byline, he runs straight into the trap. Instead, he kicks back inside laterally, and that single change of direction unravels the entire recovery shape, opening a short pass underneath, a longer diagonal run to the underlapping runner, and a switch back across the pitch. All from one movement, guys. While Adeyemi himself remains a free man in the middle of the chaos he is just created. His values, actually, if you look closer, is not limited to moments in position only. And this defensive sequence in particular shows exactly how his anticipation carries over even when his side is under pressure. Take a look. He has dropped deep into his own box, tracking a cross situation like any disciplined wide forward. But what he is actually doing in that moment is reading two events ahead. One is cloaking that the opponent in position is shaping to switch play into the pocket just outside the box before anyone else has processed the danger, breaking early to jump that passing lanes a gamble, since misjudging it leaves his side defending a 3 against 2 around the box and isolates a teammate on the far side, and the ground he has to cover to reach the interception point is actually longer than the distance the pass itself needs to travel. What closes the gap isn't actually raw speed alone. It is the fact that he starts moving before the ball is even played, reacting to the passer hips and body shape rather than the pass itself, which is what turns an unfavorable race into a one. And rather than settling for the interception and resetting position, he turns the recovery into the first pass of a counter-attack in the same motion, finding an outlet before the opponent can get numbers behind the ball, which is the difference between a good defensive read and a genuinely costly one for whoever concedes it. None of this is disconnected from what the data has shown across his career. He has recorded 23 goals and 16 assists in 98 top 5 league appearances, adding 16 goals and 5 assists in the big leagues or the Champions League. Numbers that undercut the idea that he is purely a physical project rather than a proven contributor at the highest level. Even in a rotation role at Dortmund last season, he managed 7 goals and 4 assists in only 28 league appearances across just under 1200 minutes. And the underlying data backs up what the clips already suggest. With 408 sprints and over 147 kilometers covered across the season, evidence that his game is built on repeated explosive action rather than occasionally lucky bursts. For Barcelona specifically, what this sequence points to is a wide forward who manipulates rhythm as much as he exploits it. Someone who can stretch a high defensive line the moment one accurate pass finds him in behind, but who also understands when to sit on the ball and let the picture develop before using his speed at all. The technical gap that remains is genuine, since turning these sequences into more consistent end product is what separates an explosive attacker from a truly elite one. But on the evidence here, that refinement looks like a matter of timing rather than a missing skill entirely.